Hey folks, welcome to the channel. If you're new here, my name's David and I'm a mandolin player here in the States. In this video, I'm gonna be unpacking this beast here and showing you what's inside my mandolin case in 2022. And you know, as in-person jams and gigs are becoming more and more of a thing again these days, I've been realizing there's a lot of things that I keep in my mandolin case here that I wouldn't want to be caught without whenever I'm out there making music with people in the real world. You know, Tabitha and I are actually hitting the road quite a lot this spring and summer. We're gonna be playing some shows over in the UK with the band Cup of Joe, and we're playing stuff here in the States with our duo, the Foreign Landers. So it's been a good excuse just to kind of rethink what I put in here, what I want to take on these tours. And I thought I'd turn the camera on and share with you what I've got here, as well as hopefully give you any tips that I've picked up over the past decade or so of touring and playing shows with the mandolin. And we'll cover just about everything. I'll start with the big ticket items like the case, the mandolin, then we'll go over some kind of non-musical essentials that I find are really important for traveling with. We'll go over the gear that I use with my instrument here, and just a couple personal things that I put in here as well. And there's no sponsors here for this video. These are all just things I've used a lot and I've gotten a lot of value from over the years. So if you're interested, I'll drop links in the description below for all these things. And we'll just dive right in here, starting with the mandolin case itself. This is a Hoffy carbon fiber mandolin case, and I've had it for the past 6 years, and you can see just by all this stuff here, it's definitely done a lot of battle on the road. You know, I've taken this thing with me over to the UK at least a dozen times, been to Japan, been to a lot of Europe, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, all sorts of places in the States as well, and it's held up really nicely. And what I really love about these cases is that I think Hoffy is one of the only cases out there to have these loops on the side and on the back. That way you can hook up these backpack straps. And these straps right here have been an absolute game changer because, you know, I carry my mandolin with me a lot, I travel quite a lot, and it just frees up your hands to do other stuff. It just makes life so much easier. I think these are Neotech backpack straps, and I just bought them from the Hoffy website. Of course, any mandolin case like this is a great billboard to show off some of your favorite bands or places that you've been to. I think this one might be my favorite here. I got this from the Country Music Hall of Fame over in Nashville. So this is my 2016 Apitius Vanguard mandolin. Had this one for about 6 years now. I got it when it was brand new, and it's been my main instrument since then. I did a whole video about the specs on this instrument. If you're interested, you can check it out in the cards above here. And I just really love this mandolin. It's been a steady companion over the past 6 years, you know, touring and recording with folks like Missy Raines and Mile 12. And I'm really looking forward to getting this thing out there on the road again. But now let's get into the meat and potatoes of this video, if you will. And let me share with you some essential things that I keep in here to make life so much easier out there with the mandolin. And first up are some writing utensils. And I can't tell you how many times I've gotten to the gig and had to search all over creation at the venue for one of these things because I forgot to bring one myself. And you can't beat a name brand Sharpie for writing out your set in big bold letters for the rest of your band to see on stage. Next up is a little handy notebook like this. This is so handy for writing out your practice list, for journaling a bit, for writing down lyrics of compositions, or even doing little weird doodles like this if you want to. Next is the 21st century essential of a phone charger. And I really don't like to be tied to my phone that much, to be honest, but there are a bunch of useful apps that I like to use for practicing. You can check it out here in the link in the cards above. And it's just kind of a necessary evil these days, right? You're gonna think I'm joking for this next one, but I do always keep a couple pairs of earplugs in my mandolin case. And these are useful for a number of reasons. You know, you might find yourself at a festival where there's a bunch of really loud music and you don't wanna be deaf by the time you're 40. I also like using these on airplanes sometimes. You know, if you're catching a 6 a.m. flight and you're trying to get some shut-eye before the gig that night, it's just really helpful to cut out that engine noise and to kind of desensitize and get some sleep. All right, so if you don't have this item in your mandolin case, you need to remedy that situation immediately because these are so important. And it's a little gross, but you know, sometimes you need a little self-grooming before you play the mandolin. I can't recommend this one enough. Next, I always try to keep a spare set of keys like this in my mandolin case because there's nothing worse than getting home from a 2-week tour and realizing that you're locked out of your house. Another handy thing is just having one of these pick holder key fob things like this. I've got another one on my main set of keys. That way I always have a couple really nice picks with me, even if I don't have my instrument nearby. Another utility item are these little disc batteries that we use to power our electronic tuners. These are the CR2032 3-volt lithium batteries, and I always try to keep a couple handy in my case because tuners always seem to go out of power at the most inopportune times. And this last item definitely is an essential, but it has come in handy a few times. There's just a Winchester pocket knife, and I use it for like cutting strings, for cutting tape, for rigging up things like music stands that won't work or mic stands that won't work. And this one just has some personal value to me because it's got my initials carved in it. A good friend gave this to me, and I always try to keep it handy in my case. I will say though, if you're flying a lot, it's kind of hard to remember to take this out of your mandolin case. I haven't had this one taken off me, but I have had some pliers and some other string cutters taken out of my mandolin case at security, so keep that in mind. All right, so those are the essential utilities. Let me go over some of the gear that I use when playing that I really enjoy keeping in my mandolin case here. And first up, you have to have a good strap, right? And I love recommending this company, Pine Grove Leather, over in the UK for really quality mandolin straps like this one. And I love this braiding mechanism that they have in order to adjust the strap length. It feels super secure, but it's really simple. So on my F mandolin, you'll attach this loop here to the scroll of the mandolin like this. And then on this end here, I've got this leather adapter. And Pine Grove includes these strap adapters with all their straps, and it's kind of a lifesaver for me because I have a wider end pin with a pickup that's installed on this mandolin, and it doesn't normally fit in with any normal strap hole like this. So you just put this strap adapter around your wider pickup end pin like this, and then you use the included safety lock rubber gasket that they use to just lock it into place like this. With all those precautions in place, I've never had any issues with this strap popping off while I was standing up, which is always kind of a fear of mine. So I've been really pleased with this strap since I've had it. And I usually keep this strap on all the time, and when I put it in the case, I just kind of fold it over like this, make sure all the braids are tucked in, and it fits really nicely with the Hoffy without putting any extra pressure on the top of the mandolin. Next up, we got one of these. Since I started making videos, so many people have asked me about this thing, and I'm happy to tell you this is an armrest made by a luthier in Nashville by the name of Dan Voigt. And I love this armrest for many reasons that I mentioned in other videos. It just clamps onto the side of the mandolin, makes a really great anchor for your right hand when you're playing, makes the mandolin feel more substantial, and this one is just really beautiful, matches the mandolin so well. Next up, we've got the infamous tone guard, right? You guys probably know I'm a big fan of this little gadget here that clips onto the back of your mandolin, makes it sound louder, more resonant because it's keeping the wood away from the dampening of your clothing. And if you've never tried one of these before, I know there's a lot of skeptics out there, but once you try it, I think you'll understand what I mean. Once you go tone guard, there's no going back. And I've talked about this thing before too, right? This is a mandolin-specific string winder made by luthier Lynn Dudenbostel. And I love it because the slot here is a lot smaller, so it just fits perfectly on those mandolin tuning machines. You don't have to worry about it hitting up against the other tuners nearby. All right, and speaking of strings, this is the fun part of the video where we get to talk about the real specifics. And the strings that I like to use, might be a surprise, because they're actually not in stock anymore. These are the D'Addario EXP74CMs, and they've been out of stock for a couple years now, but I've got kind of a secret stash here. Actually, I only have a few sets left, and I'll be pretty sad when they go out because I used them for a long time. They always stayed in tune really great and lasted me for a couple months at a time. And the gauges on this set is really nice in particular. This is 11.5 on the high end, 16 on the A string, 26 on the D string, all the way up to 40 on the G string. So it's very similar to the normal 74s that D'Addario makes, but it's a little bit heavier on the high end, so you get a little bit more power whenever you're playing on the A and the E strings. Coated phosphor bronze. Of course, I like the XTs. I haven't tried the XS yet, but D'Addario makes some quality stuff. I just really like these because I'm a creature of habit, I guess. And then after strings, this is probably our next favorite topic as mandolin players. And no, it's not breath mints, even though a lot of us mandolin players could probably stand a breath mint, but it's picks. And I try to keep quite a variety of different types of picks in my mandolin case here, and I'm always kind of switching things up, going back and forth in between. More recently, I have been playing these Golden Gate Clown Barf Extra Stiff 1.3mm picks. They're very easy to find if you drop them. They also come in kind of this more classy tortoise shell style color too. Of course, I also really enjoy using these Weekend TF 140 picks, and I've got a few of these Prime Tone Dunlop 1.4mm. They're really affordable. I've got the ProPlec picks if you want kind of a darker sound. And then of course you have to have a couple of those blue chip CT55 picks. This might be the most popular mandolin pick of all time. But usually I like picks that are triangle shaped like this, about the same size, usually around 1.3 to 1.5 millimeters, but that's just my personal preference. Next up for tuning, I always keep a couple of these D'Addario micro tuners in my mandolin case. They're so discreet, work really well. I always keep one clipped onto my mandolin headstock, and then I keep a spare just in case I lose one or something goes bad. And recently, I've really enjoyed having one of these things in my mandolin case. This is a D'Addario microfiber polish cloth, and I don't usually travel with actual instrument polish in my case just in case it explodes or you have to fly and you need that plastic bag to put it in. So I usually just travel with one of these, and it's really helpful for wiping down the strings after playing outdoors when it's really hot and your fingers are all sweaty, or if it's clean, just using it to polish your mandolin, make it look all pretty. My mandolin here is definitely in need of a good polish, by the way. And I did mention that I have a pickup installed in my mandolin, which is in my case as well. So if anyone is curious, I've got a K&K twin internal pickup here that I just plug the jack into my end pin. It was installed by that luthier Dan Voigt who makes those armrests. And I don't know, I don't love playing with the pickup that much, but sometimes it's a necessary evil, like if you're playing at a loud venue or playing on a big stage outside when feedback is a big issue. And I've asked around to other professional mandolin players who use pickups and tried a couple different on my own, and in my experience, this K&K is kind of the best option out there for the most natural mandolin sound in a pickup. We'll have to do another video on live setup because maybe the best option is to blend your pickup signal with a mic signal so you get a little bit of the dry and the wet audio mixed together. And for that, I've got one of those Grace Designs Felix preamps where you can plug in two signals, blend them together, and EQ it on your own before sending out one signal to the soundboard. But again, we'll have to have that conversation another time. But that just about does it. If you stuck around to the end of this video, just as kind of a fun bonus here, there's just a couple little pieces of paper that I keep tucked away here in my notebook. And first up, this old crumpled slip of paper here is a tune list from the great Darrell Anger. And Darrell is just a huge hero of mine. He played fiddle with the great David Grisman Quintet and in the duo with Mike Marshall for so many years. And I actually took a workshop with him many years ago, was trying to play fiddle at the time and realized how hard it was and quickly gave up and started playing mandolin. But I asked him after the workshop what tunes I should learn, and he just immediately reached into his fiddle case, handed me this slip of paper, and he said, "This is my repertoire list. Why don't you learn these tunes?" And I still haven't learned all these, to be honest, but it is so cool just to get a snapshot into how an amazing player like Darrell organizes his tunes, how he keeps all this information straight, and it just inspires me whenever I look into my mandolin case and see this little slip. Next up, this is the set list from the very last gig that I played with Mile 12. And even though I'm not playing with Mile 12 anymore, this piece of paper means so much to me because it brings back so many great memories of being on the road with these guys, learning so much about how to play mandolin, how to play bluegrass, and yeah, it just makes me really inspired to play mandolin, looking at this piece of paper, thinking about my roots, thinking about all the things I learned, the things I want to keep working on, and the friendships that I've made through music. These are just reminders to me about why I play mandolin and why I want to keep pressing forward, and I hope that you have some kind of reminders like that in your case as well. But there you go, that's what's in my mandolin case here in 2022, but I want to hear from you. Let me know in the comments below what's in your mandolin case. I'm always looking for new things to add to this tiny little suitcase, so I'm excited to hear from you. And if you want to keep the good mandolin times rolling, here are some other videos on screen that you might enjoy. As always, the likes and subscribes are so appreciated. And yes, in case you're wondering, this all does fit inside my mandolin case.